Since the UK started or added care assistants to the shortage occupation list, there's been loads or even hundreds of people who has moved into the UK to work mainly as domiciliary carer, because most people who employ people to come into the country to work and give visa sponsorship, most of the time, 80% of the time, are actually employing for domiciliary care. What is domiciliary care? Domiciliary care is a part of care. It's a part of care in the UK where you have to take care of your clients in their own home. You go to the house of the person, you help them to do their day-to-day activities, which may include cleaning, cooking, helping them with their medication, little shopping, just those things that they would not be able to do unaided. So that is one of the things a domiciliary care will do in the UK. This video is actually based on the comments, on the messages I've heard over the 1 year period when this visa has been launched or has become active. I've gotten so many people who have shared their experience with me, people who want another job, people who are enjoying their job, people who thought they've made the right decision, people who thought they've made a mistake. So I thought, okay, let us talk about the things to expect, the disadvantages, or the things you should be ready for if and when you get your domiciliary care job. First and most important thing is, I've seen so many people come to the UK and when they are doing their interview or doing their visa application, they say they can drive. When they are doing their job interview, it is stated that you should be able to drive in the UK, and because you can drive in your country, you feel it is easy. Yes, I can drive. You say you can drive, and although in the UK you can use your Nigeria or your current driver's license for 1 year before you're then legally required to get your UK full driver's license, it is still very difficult when you come to a new country like the UK, especially if they drive on the other hand. When I got to the country, it was so strange for me before I could understand how the road works and the different rules. So many people, when they come into the country, they find it difficult to then actually drive, either getting a car by themselves, or even when the company provide you a car, it is a bit difficult for them to navigate around because, number one, you don't even know the road, you don't know how to use your Google map, it is difficult for you to travel, and because it is domiciliary care, that means you're going to the homes of this client. You have to go from one home to the other, unlike if you're getting a job in a care home where it is a place you go, you work 12 or 12 and a half hours and you go home. You have to go from either client A to client B, client C, and it depends on their need, depend on their requirement. And of course, I know you will say you have off days when you can rest. It is still very stressful, it is demanding, it is draining, and because most companies, from my experience, operate on contact hours only. That means the only time you're with your client, that is the time they will pay for your work. Although some companies I've seen, they will say they will pay for your mileage, but it is not enough for you to then drive around the town for, let's say, 12 hours and only be in the house of your clients for, let's say, 8 hours, and you're getting paid for that 8 hours only. So sometimes it is a bit stressful when you finally discover that you're only paid for your contact hours. I'm not saying this is what every company does. I'm just saying these are some of the experiences that so many people have shared with me. Another thing is stress. I've seen people who worked in domiciliary care from coming from abroad. They don't know how demanding it is. And although when they start initially, they usually say it is easy, it is fine, it is easier. But then over time, they've come back to say it is actually very stressful, especially if you're working with a client who has got mood swing, who does not like you, or if the family does not like you, or even you as well, depend on how you feel during that day. You can become very stressed if you're working with somebody who is difficult, and then you've got, maybe if it is a two-care person, let me somebody that needs assistance, you can have one other person with you, but if you're alone, it can be very difficult. And again, you can put yourself in harm's way, because if you are with an aggressive patient or aggressive relative, although you should be protected by your employer by not posting you to those type of people, but sometimes it is unpredictable. You can find yourself in harm's way. You know what I mean? So many other harms that you will not even expect, either from the client's family, client's children, client's great grandchildren, or even from the clients themselves. You can find yourself in harm's way. It is also very difficult for you to balance your work life with your family life. Although these things I'm saying sometimes it's peculiar to almost all the jobs, but I'm saying these are some of the comments I've heard from people who have worked Over time in domiciliary care, and these are the complaints they've given me, sometimes it's very difficult to walk around, being able to balance your job and, your work demand, as I've found people find it a bit difficult. I've got somebody who also told me that they were not giving enough job. I don't know how this works, and, this is coming from people who have now turned these visas into business. They then employ hundreds of people from all over the world. They get money from them, although it is illegal. They get money from them, and then they end up not having enough assignment for them. I've got somebody who said they've come to the UK now. They are now stranded because they don't get enough job. That means in a week they don't get posted as much as they should, and as much as this is a financial stress, and it is not even funny at all, because you've come to the country, you need to pay your bills. It is also not the best for your visa sponsorship, although they have their way around things like this. But personally speaking, I don't think it's a good thing if you find yourself with such employer who will not give you enough assignment. And on the other hand, I've seen people who also get too much assignment. That means they cannot say no to overtimes, they cannot say no to the extra hours they're being given by force, because at the end of the day, these people need the care. And one other thing you will find again is that you're going to be working odd hours, because this job sometimes require you to go to the homes of people who need to wake up early enough, as early as 6 o'clock, to get ready for the day, and then it needs you to go back to those homes or to other homes to get people ready for bed, when you yourself should be either getting up or going back to bed, or when your children are supposed to be getting out of bed or getting into bed. You find yourself working those odd, lunchtime, odd hours that normally you shouldn't be working, but sometimes you find yourself working in those odd hours because that is when your care, or that is when your attention is needed. And of course, because we are on visas, or because you're on visa, you're restricted. You can't just carry your bag and say, I'm not going to work today, because you've signed a contract, you're the visa. Most of the time you now become restricted, or you now find yourself in the system and you're frustrated. And if you cannot drive, or if your company has not given you a car, you can find yourself having to jump from one bus, from one train to the other, or having to work hours in different weather conditions, either sunny, rainy, unfavorable conditions throughout the day, just for you to earn a living. So that is one disadvantage of working in domiciliary care, because you're most of the time you're on the road, you're working, from one point to the other, and then you find that you cannot even comfortably stay with your clients and give them the proper care you want to give them, because you're being timed. Let's say they've paid for 2 hours, you can only be there for 2 hours, you have to leave. There's no continuity of care. Another thing I've noticed is you have the tendency to fall in a very big trouble of either medication error, of errors generally, because number one, let's say if you're in a care home, or you're in an organization where there's so many people who come and walk behind you, or people who are around. I'm not saying errors are acceptable or errors are good. They are not good. But if you make a little mistake, it is possible that it may not be detected, or somebody else may just overlook it, or you can get away with making minor unserious mistakes. Unlike if you're working at a domiciliary care and you're going to a client's home, if you have refused or you've forgotten to sign something, it is going to be there that you did not sign it. If the next person comes, or the next day somebody sees it, it's going to be obvious that it was you who made that mistake. I hope you understand my point. So you have the higher tendency of making errors that will be detected, that can either affect you or put you into serious problems. If you're also not very careful, you can find yourself becoming unwell from the stress of working too much, jumping about, and having to settle into the work and the system of the UK can be a bit difficult. And one other thing I would say is you can face a patient or a client who are racist, who do not like you. You will find at least one in multitude. Occasionally you find them. Let's say if I'm in a care home, if I'm in a hospital, and somebody say, Gloria, I don't want you to attend to me, you can just say, okay, bye, and walk away. But in the case where you have to go to their home, you're in their space, you're in their, you're within their area, and they don't like you, especially if they are very serious racist, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, or even very dangerous if you do not find help, or if you find yourself in such uncomfortable situation. situation. While I'm not discouraging anybody from taking domiciliary care, because that is still one of the quickest way to get into the UK if you want to come as a carer, because they give visa sponsorship. I'm not discouraging you. I'm just preparing you so that you know what to expect when you find that job. And I'm not saying you cannot change job. I've seen people who have messaged me and said they want to change their job, but the thing I will advise you, I'll give you one more tip because you've stayed this long to watch this video, is if you want to change your job, please make sure you found another employer, have your certificate of sponsorship, have a start date before you then resign from your current job. Because if you then all of a sudden decide you don't want to go to work, you want to sit down at home and protest, and you don't want to work, it is too stressful, blah blah blah, and you don't have another job, if they terminate your contract, especially if you've come with your family, just imagine the stress. It is not by force to live abroad, but think about the stress you've been through when you can just simply stay quiet, keep enduring. I'm not saying you should die there. I'm not saying you should put yourself in harm's way. If it's too stressful, please remember you have people who will support you. And sometimes you may not have enough support as you may expect, you know what I mean? From either your colleague or from the system, even from the relative. You may not have as much support as you want, but speak out, ask for help, be very wise. Don't leave that job. Don't resign yet until you find another job, except your plan is to return to your country. Just be wise about these things. And a patient dog, they say sometimes it's the fattest bones of, but sometimes a patient dog will have no bone to eat. Not because you've stayed this long, please, I'm begging you to please, because I've not said this enough, I think that's why you are not subscribing. Please just check that you have subscribed to this channel so that you don't miss any other video, and just to encourage me to know that you really appreciate these little things I'm doing, and I wish you good luck in your care dream and adventure in the UK. Remember, you can always change your job, but be very, very careful when you're doing this. I wish you good luck in all your endeavor. And before I go, I will also say be careful of scam. So many people are scamming people. They're taking money, thousands of millions of naira from people just to bring them abroad. It is illegal, and if you find yourself abroad, make sure you are very smart to look for another employer if you're not comfortable. I wish you good luck in all your endeavor. I will see you in another video. Until then, stay safe and bye.